New York police are investigating the death of a transgender woman as a possible hate crime.
Transgender teen from Kings Mills is galvanizing the LGBT community. Leila Alcorn died on Sunday morning when she walked into traffic on Interstate 71. Her suicide note blamed her parents for not accepting her true gender identity.
They were rallying against a new state law that's sparking outrage in the LGBT community. The legislation requires transgendered people to use bathrooms and locker rooms of their biological gender rather than the gender that they identify with.
So my journey with discovering my gender probably started when I was about 2, and I told my mom that I thought I was a boy. And it was really weird because she assured me I was a girl, so I just kind of went along with it. And eventually after a month I just stopped. And it wasn't until probably 7th or 8th grade that I really thought about it again. And then at that point in my life, I really was feeling kind of low, and I was like, I feel like there's something else going on here, but I'm not sure what it is.
I don't think there was ever really a point where I realized that I was transgender. I just never remember gendering myself, ever.
And when I got into middle school, people kept telling me okay, well, you're a girl, so you have to wear makeup and you have to date boys and you have to do this and that. So I started really pressuring myself into doing all of those things. And in about 8th grade, I started realizing that I was really, really unhappy with that, but I didn't know why, because nobody had ever told me that you could be female to male transgender.
I had never thought of myself as a girl, and being in that situation where I had to choose was so terrifying. So I identified as gender neutral for a year and a half, and then I had a massive gender dysphoria breakdown where nothing I was wearing felt comfortable, and I felt like I was crawling out of my own skin. And then I was like, oh, I'm transgender, that makes sense. So that was probably 2 years ago now.
I get a lot of harassment in the men's room. I get a lot of people staring at me and laughing at me, and I get a lot of people walking up to me and being like, are you sure you're in the right place? Or this is the men's room, right? I'm like, yeah, I know. I see the urinals, I saw the sign when I walked in, I'm not stupid.
Has there ever been one instance that particularly stood out to you?
Yeah, there was this one time I walked in the bathroom, and these guys kind of started laughing at me, and I went and I peed and I came out, and they were still staring at me and huddled up in their little mean girls group and whispering about me and laughing at me. And I washed my hands, and when I turned around, one of them had their phone out and took a picture of me.
School nurse at my school has told me multiple times that she legally cannot call me Vincent because there is a law that says that she has to refer to me by my legal name. There is no such law, and this is sort of an ongoing struggle with her right now, where she feels like she has to call me by this other name, where pretty much everybody else in my school is calling me Vincent and being really positive. And it's very frustrating when one person is just being like, I am not going to do that because of made-up reasons.
I've had people call me things that I'm not going to repeat. And I definitely had confrontations, ironically, with other trans people where they openly misgendered me. And I had a lot of problems in schools, in my high school specifically, with someone who had already transitioned, was purposefully trying to stop me from transitioning because she didn't believe that I was really trans. And so she would spread all this stuff about me and say all these things, and people believed her because she was the trans person. So I think there's also a lot of transphobia within our own community.
Like, what would you do to try to change that? Like,
I mean,
how do you think it should be addressed?
I think there definitely just needs to be more education, because like now that it's more acceptable and more okay to be trans, there are a lot more of us. And with that, of course, is the huge influx of people who can transition or who don't want to transition. So you get a lot more people who don't look their gender, whatever that's supposed to mean, don't pass. And I think that right now the mainstream media and education really only focuses on the people who have medically transitioned. You know, Caitlyn Jenner, she didn't really come out as Caitlyn Jenner until she transitioned, which, it's her decision, it's what she needs to do for herself, and that's totally fine. But I think it does send a message to the public that until we're medically transitioned and until we look the way that society expects us to look, we're not really trans and we're not really who we say we are.
I feel like there has been some female to male representation in the media with the man who was in the running for Men's Health magazine to be on the cover. There was also, I forget his name, but he's in Transparent. He's a trans man from Maine, actually, who's in the show Transparent. But obviously Transparent is all about a male to female transgender person, mostly. It really focuses on that experience. So it's discouraging in a way, because I feel like a lot of people just assume that if you're trans, you must be male to female, because that's what everybody in the media is. And yet there are so many people who identify as like non-binary or female to male or all these different things, and it's really quite annoying and frustrating that we don't have equal representation right now.
Honestly, one of the things I found out recently, hate crimes against somebody for their gender aren't documented as hate crimes. They're called hate crimes, but they're not documented as hate crimes. So if you went to look it up in the federal database, you wouldn't be able to find anything on hate crimes based on your gender, which is ridiculous.
Like, was it like hard coming out to your family?
It's a funny story, actually. I kind of pulled a Caitlyn Jenner, and I did not tell my family. I was in an article by Mashable, which was a modeling job, and it was called Trans Teen America, and it had 22,000 shares, and my face was on the cover. And then one day, my mother was like, "Hey, why is your face on a Trans Teen America article?" And that was how I came out to my parents.
And did they take it well, or?
Yeah, my mom was like, she kind of already knew, I think, but she still like is getting used to it. But in the end, I think she just wants me to be happy. My dad doesn't acknowledge it whatsoever. He doesn't acknowledge it at all. My dad just doesn't.
And then what would you say to like a trans kid that's first starting to come out or come to terms with the fact that they're trans?
I would say, like, be who you are and don't let other people's, like, ideals kind of stop you from feeling what you're feeling. Because I did that for a really long time, and I don't think that was not a good time for me, trying to, like, suppress who I am.
You say I'm going down a dangerous path, but I swear this body reflects who I am. No matter the cost, no matter the pain, I refuse to remain in this torturous state. You don't know what it's like to wake up each day wishing for parts of your body to just go away, longing for the parts that are missing. When you call me by my dead name, I am reminded that there are those who still see me as the young girl I used to be. My gender shifted, but other pieces of me as well. The fear, the hatred, the jealousy all died with Emily. And with Vincent's birth came confidence, several years, I've been evolving into the man that stands before you today. You've witnessed the evolution of an identity